You are being controlled, right now, in this very moment. As you sit here watching this, invisible energy structures are harvesting your life force, and you're letting them not because you're weak, not because you're foolish, but because you've never been told they exist. Let me ask you something. Do you feel exhausted after 8 hours at a job you don't hate but don't love? Do you scroll through social media feeling drained, angry, or empty, but you can't stop? Do you give and give and give in your relationships, your work, your obligations, but feel like you're running on fumes? Here's what nobody tells you. That exhaustion, it's not burnout. That emptiness, it's not depression. That feeling of living someone else's life. It's energy theft, and the thieves, they're called pendulums, and these are energy structures, invisible, autonomous, and feeding on you right now. They don't care about your happiness. They don't care about your dreams. They only care about one thing: keeping you locked in their frequency, harvesting your energy, and making sure you never ever break free. Your workplace is a pendulum. Your family dynamics, pendulum. That political party you defend online, pendulum. Even that charity you volunteer for, yes, even that, could be draining you dry. And here's the kicker. You think you're choosing. You think you're living according to your will. But what if I told you that almost everything you do, every obligation you feel, every should that weighs on you is the pendulum's command, not your soul's calling? In the next 30 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how these energy structures operate, how they manipulate you, how they keep you trapped, and most importantly, how to recognize which ones are feeding on your life force right now. Ready? Let's go deeper. So what exactly is a pendulum? Here's the simplest way I can explain it. Imagine a group of people, could be 10, could be 10 million, all thinking and acting in the same direction, all focused on the same goal, all vibrating at the same frequency. Their collective mental energy doesn't just disappear, it merges, it forms a structure. An information energy structure that develops its own consciousness, its own laws, its own hunger. That's a pendulum, and think of it like this. You know how a single tuning fork vibrates at a specific frequency? Now imagine 1,000 tuning forks all vibrating together. The sound doesn't just add up, it amplifies. It creates a wave, a force, something that can make other tuning forks start vibrating too, even if they don't want to. That's what pendulums do to human beings. Every organization you can think of is a pendulum. Your company, your government, your religious institution, political parties, social movements. Even your family unit operates as a pendulum. And here's where it gets fascinating and disturbing. Even in nature you see this. A school of fish, a flock of birds, a colony of ants. They're all small-scale pendulums operating on instinct. But human pendulums, they're far more sophisticated, far more hungry, and far more dangerous. Because unlike animals acting on instinct, human pendulums have learned to play with your emotions. They've learned to wear beautiful masks. They've learned to disguise themselves as your salvation when they're actually your prison. Let me give you a visceral example. Picture a football stadium, 80,000 people watching. A player makes a critical mistake, and suddenly, like a switch, 80,000 people erupt in rage, booing, screaming, cursing. Can you feel that energy? That's not just noise. That's a massive wave of emotional energy. Now here's what's stunning. That player doesn't die, he doesn't collapse, the energy doesn't destroy him. So where does it go? The pendulum harvests it. It feeds on it and it grows stronger. Throughout history, we've seen what happens when someone becomes a favorite of a destructive pendulum. Napoleon Bonaparte, Adolf Hitler, Joseph Stalin. I'm not here to debate their morality, that's not the point. The point is this. These men achieved extraordinary things. They commanded armies. They changed the course of history. They had millions of people following them, feeding them energy, making them almost superhuman in their power. They were the darlings of massive, destructive pendulums. But here's what no one talks about. Were they happy? Napoleon himself, near the end of his life, said he could count the truly happy days of his entire existence on one hand. Think about that. A man who conquered most of Europe, a man whose name is still known centuries later. And he had maybe, 5 happy days? That's the bargain you make with a destructive pendulum. It will give you power. It will give you achievement. It might even give you fame. But happiness, personal fulfillment, living in alignment with your true self, never. Because the pendulum doesn't care about you. It cares about perpetuating itself. It cares about maintaining its oscillation. You're not a person to it. You're a battery. You're fuel. And when you're used up, it finds someone else. Stalin died paranoid, isolated, feared by everyone around him. Hitler destroyed himself in a bunker. These weren't men living their soul's purpose. These were puppets dancing on strings they couldn't even see. And here's the part that should make you pause. These are extreme examples, history's monsters, right? But the mechanism is the same, whether it's a dictator serving a war machine or you serving a corporate culture that demands you sacrifice your health, your family, your peace. All for what? A promotion? A title? The approval of people who will forget you the moment you're gone? Same pendulum, same theft, just different scales. Let's bring this home. Let's talk about your pendulums. Because here's the thing most people miss. Pendulums aren't just massive political movements or armies or nations. The most insidious ones are the ones you interact with every single day. Your workplace is a pendulum. Think about it. It has its own culture, its own rules, its own frequency. And the moment you step through those doors, you start vibrating to its rhythm. You dress a certain way, you speak a certain way, you suppress parts of yourself that don't fit the corporate culture. And by 5 p.m. you're exhausted, not from the work itself, but from maintaining that frequency all day. Your social circles are pendulums. How many times have you gone to a gathering, a party, a dinner, an event, and came home feeling drained? Not energized, drained. That's not introversion, my friend. That's energy extraction. You spent hours feeding a social pendulum that gave you nothing in return. Even your family operates as a pendulum. Now, I'm not saying your family is bad. Stay with me here. But family systems have expectations, roles, scripts. You're the responsible one. You're the caregiver. You're the one who always shows up. And you play that role over and over, whether it aligns with your true nature or not. Social media. Don't even get me started. Every platform is a pendulum designed to keep you scrolling, reacting, engaging. You think you're just checking in. But 3 hours later, you're angry about politics, envious of someone's vacation, and feeling inadequate about your own life. That's not connection. That's extraction. Here's the radical truth. Most of your exhaustion doesn't come from what you do. It comes from feeding pendulums that are fundamentally misaligned with who you actually are. And the craziest part? You don't even realize you're doing it. Let me ask you a direct question. Where in your life do you feel obligated? Not inspired, not called, obligated. Where do you show up because you have to, not because you want to? Where do you give your time, your energy, your life force, and receive nothing that actually nourishes you in return? That's your pendulum speaking. That's not your soul. That's the pendulum's frequency running through you, making you believe this is just how life is. This is what responsible people do. This is what good people do. But here's what I want you to hear. Really hear. You are not weak for feeling exhausted by this. You are not broken for wanting something different. You are not selfish for questioning whether this is really your path. You're being harvested, and your body, your soul, they're trying to tell you. Think about Sunday night. That feeling of dread before Monday morning. Most people call that normal. But is it? Is it normal to spend the majority of your waking life in a state that drains you? To trade your finite hours, your one irreplaceable life, for a paycheck and a sense of security that feels more like a cage than a foundation? The workplace pendulum has taught you to call that adulting. It's taught you to wear your exhaustion like a badge of honor. I'm so busy. I worked 12-hour days this week. I haven't taken a vacation in 2 years. That's not success. That's not dedication. That's a pendulum feeding on you, and you're proud of how much you're giving it. Same with social media. You open the app telling yourself it'll be just 5 minutes. 2 hours later, you've doom-scrolled through arguments you'll never win, content that made you feel inadequate, and drama that has nothing to do with your actual life, and you feel terrible. But did you choose that? Or did the pendulum choose for you? Now let me explain the mechanism, because understanding how pendulums actually work is what gives you power over them. Every pendulum has a frequency, a specific vibrational signature, and it can only extract energy from people who resonate at that frequency, or close to it. It's like a radio. If you're tuned to 104.5 FM, you're only going to receive broadcasts from 104.5. The stations at 97.3 or 110.8, you can't hear them. They're vibrating at a different frequency. Pendulums work the same way. A political pendulum resonates at a frequency of conflict, righteousness, us versus them. If you're vibrating at that frequency, if you're angry about injustice, if you're fighting for your side, you become a conductor for that pendulum's energy. It flows through you, and it takes from you. A corporate pendulum vibrates at ambition, competition, status, security. If those are your dominant frequencies, you plug right in, and the pendulum uses you to perpetuate itself. Here's where it gets interesting. Pendulums are autonomous. They develop their own rules, their own goals, and those goals have nothing to do with your well-being. They're about maintaining the pendulum's existence. So the corporate pendulum creates a culture of overwork, not because it makes people happy or even because it's more productive, but because exhausted, dependent employees are easier to keep. They're too tired to look for other options. They're too invested to walk away. The political pendulum creates division not because it solves problems, but because conflict generates massive amounts of energy. And divided people are easier to control than united ones. The fashion pendulum creates new trends every season, not because your clothes from last year don't work, but because constant consumption keeps you locked in its frequency. The pendulum doesn't care about you, it cares about its survival, and it will do whatever it takes to keep you feeding it. So here's where we need to pause, because this is where most people have a moment of recognition that changes everything. Look at your life right now. Look at where your energy goes, your time, your emotional bandwidth, your mental focus. How much of it is actually yours? How much of it is aligned with what you genuinely want, what genuinely fulfills you, what your soul is actually calling you toward? And how much of it is obligation, performance, playing a role, maintaining an image, feeding something that gives you nothing real in return? I'm not talking about basic responsibilities. We all have those. I'm talking about the extras. The things you do because people will think. The things you do because I should. The things you do because not doing them would make you feel guilty, even though doing them makes you feel empty. That guilt, that's the pendulum. It's programmed you to feel that way. Because guilt is one of its most powerful tools. Let me tell you how this shows up. You're invited to an event you don't want to attend. Your body tenses, your energy drops. Every cell in you is saying no. But you think, I should go. They'll be disappointed if I don't. What will people think? That's not your voice. That's the social pendulum using guilt to keep you vibrating at its frequency. You're in a job that's killing your spirit. Every morning is a struggle. You've lost your creativity, your passion, your sense of possibility, but you think, I can't leave. I need the security. I've already invested so many years. What would I even do instead? That's not wisdom. That's the corporate pendulum using fear to keep you locked in. You're in a relationship where you've become a shell of yourself. You're performing, pretending, wearing a mask so often you've forgotten what your real face looks like, but you think, we've been together so long, everyone expects us to make it work. Maybe this is just what relationships are. That's not maturity. That's the relationship pendulum using your fear of judgment and change to keep extracting energy from you. And here's the devastating truth. The pendulum has convinced you that these thoughts are yours, that this is your personality, your values, your choices. But what if they're not? What if the voice telling you you should and you can't and what will people think isn't your voice at all? What if it's the pendulum so deeply embedded in your psyche that you've mistaken it for yourself? That's the moment of recognition. That's the awakening. When you realize, maybe for the first time, that you've been living someone else's script, dancing to someone else's rhythm. feeding something that was never meant to serve you. Now here's where it gets really uncomfortable, and I need you to stay with me here because this is where most people's minds want to shut down. Not all pendulums announce themselves as destructive. In fact, the most dangerous ones wear masks of goodness, beauty, nobility, righteousness. Take charity work, helping others. Noble, right? Selfless. The kind of thing good people do. But let me ask you this. Are you doing it because it's your genuine calling? Or are you doing it because society tells you that good people volunteer, good people give back, good people sacrifice for others? If it's the latter, if you're performing goodness rather than embodying it, then you're feeding a pendulum, and that pendulum will drain you just as thoroughly as any corporate job or toxic relationship. I've seen people destroy their health volunteering for causes they don't actually care about. I've seen people exhaust themselves in service work that leaves them bitter and resentful, and when they finally admit they want to stop, they're flooded with guilt. Because the pendulum has taught them that stepping back makes them selfish bad. Less than, that's the mask. The pendulum drapes itself in virtue so you won't see what it's really doing. Extracting your energy while giving you nothing but the hollow satisfaction of performing goodness. Here's the litmus test. After you engage with something, do you feel energized or depleted? Not the temporary high of accomplishment. I'm talking about the deep, sustained sense of alignment, of being in the right place, doing the right thing, living in harmony with your actual nature. If you feel depleted, exhausted, empty, even if the thing itself looks noble, that's a pendulum, and a destructive one. Because remember, the pendulum doesn't care about your well-being, even when it's dressed in the robes of a saint. Let's talk about how pendulums actually manipulate you. Because once you see the tactics, you can never unsee them. First tactic. They make themselves appear essential, indispensable. They convince you that your identity, your worth, your very survival depends on being part of them. The corporate pendulum does this beautifully. Without this job, how will you survive? Where else would someone with your skills go? You're lucky to have this position. It makes you forget that you existed before this job and will exist after it. The relationship pendulum does this too. Who else would put up with you? You'll never find someone better. You're too old, too damaged, too difficult to start over. It makes you forget your wholeness. Second tactic. They create enemies. Us versus them. Good versus evil. Our way versus their way. Political pendulums are masters at this. They don't just offer you a perspective, they give you an enemy to fight. And fighting generates enormous amounts of emotional energy. Anger, righteous indignation, fear. All of it feeding the pendulum. Notice how the pendulum never says, "Let's find common ground." It says, "They are the problem. They are destroying everything. If you're not fighting them, you're complicit." Third tactic, they punish deviation. If you try to leave, try to question, try to live differently, the pendulum turns on you. Sometimes it's obvious, you get fired, you're ostracized, you're labeled a traitor. Sometimes it's subtle, you feel guilty, anxious, like you're betraying something important. That feeling isn't coming from your soul. It's coming from the pendulum's programming, trying to pull you back into resonance. And here's the really insidious part. The pendulum often uses people you love as its enforcers, your family, your friends. We're just worried about you. This isn't like you. You're changing, and not in a good way. They're not trying to hurt you. They're resonating with the same pendulum. And the pendulum, through them, is trying to recapture you. So what's the actual cost of feeding destructive pendulums? Let me paint you the full picture. Because I think once you see it, really see it, you'll understand why this conversation matters so much. The first cost is your energy, your life force. The thing that makes you vibrant, creative, passionate, alive. The pendulum extracts this continuously. And you wonder why you're always tired. Why you need coffee to function. Why weekends aren't long enough to recover. Why vacations feel like barely catching your breath before diving back in. It's not age. It's not just stress. It's systematic energy theft. The second cost is your authenticity. your real self. Because to resonate with a pendulum's frequency, you have to suppress the frequencies that don't match. You have to perform, wear masks, play roles. And after enough years of this, you forget what your actual face looks like. You become a collection of performances: the professional you, the family you, the social you, the online you, all slightly different, all carefully calibrated to fit the pendulum's expectations. And somewhere in there, the real you, the one with unique desires, strange dreams, unconventional paths, that version gets buried so deep you're not even sure it still exists. The third cost is your trajectory, your actual life path. See, you were born with a purpose, a calling, a specific frequency that's uniquely yours. And when you're vibrating at that frequency, life has this quality of flow, of rightness, of I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. But pendulums pull you off that path. They redirect your energy toward their goals, their agendas. And suddenly you're 40, 50, 60 years old, and you look back and think, whose life did I just live? Because it doesn't feel like mine. That's the pendulum's doing. It kept you so busy serving its agenda that you never had time to discover your own. And the fourth cost, this is the one that haunts people the most, is happiness itself. Because you can succeed in a pendulum's game. You can climb the ladder, you can win the awards, you can achieve everything the pendulum told you to achieve, and still feel empty, still feel like something essential is missing, still feel like you're living someone else's dream. That's what happened to Napoleon. He conquered Europe and counted his happy days on one hand. That's what happens to people who spend their lives feeding pendulums. Achievement without fulfillment, success without satisfaction, a life that looks good on paper but feels hollow in the soul. And the worst part, the pendulum has taught you to blame yourself for that emptiness. I should be grateful. I have so much. What's wrong with me that I'm still not happy? Nothing's wrong with you. You're just feeding the wrong structure. You're vibrating at someone else's frequency, and your soul knows it. So here's where everything changes. Here's the shift that can transform your entire relationship with these energy structures. You cannot destroy pendulums. They're too big, too established, too fed by millions of people. Trying to fight them directly just feeds them more energy. Because remember, they feed on resistance as much as they feed on support. Anger toward a pendulum is still energy for the pendulum. But here's what you can do. You can stop feeding them. You can withdraw your energy. You can choose which pendulums to engage with and which ones to starve. This is not about becoming a hermit. It's not about rejecting all structure or living in isolation. It's about conscious choice. It's about recognizing which pendulums align with your actual path and which ones are pulling you away from it. Some pendulums serve you. They're resonating at frequencies compatible with your soul's purpose. When you engage with them, you feel energized, alive. More yourself, not less. These are constructive pendulums, not because they're morally superior, but because they're aligned with your specific trajectory. Other pendulums are destructive to you. Not evil, not bad, just misaligned. When you engage with them, you feel drained, compressed, like you're wearing clothes that don't fit. These pendulums might serve someone else beautifully, but they're wrong for you. The shift is learning to tell the difference, and having the courage to withdraw from the destructive ones, even when they're wearing masks of goodness, even when everyone around you is feeding them, even when walking away makes you look selfish or strange. Because here's the radical truth. Your energy is yours. Your life force belongs to you, and spending it on pendulums that diminish you isn't noble. It's not sacrifice. It's not duty. It's just waste. And you don't owe anyone that. Not your employer, not your family, not society, not even the pendulums that convinced you that you do. So how do you actually do this? How do you recognize which pendulums to engage with and which to avoid? Here's the diagnostic question I want you to start asking. Every time you engage with something, a job, a relationship, a cause, a community, ask yourself, after I interact with this, do I feel more like myself or less? Not, do I feel good? Sometimes growth is uncomfortable. Not, do I feel successful? Sometimes success in a pendulum's game means failure at your own, but more like yourself versus less. More aligned with your core nature, more in touch with your authentic desires, more connected to that quiet voice that knows what's true for you. If the answer is more, even if it's difficult, even if it's challenging, even if you're scared, that's a constructive pendulum for you. That's where your energy should go. If the answer is less, even if it pays well, even if it looks impressive, even if everyone says you should, that's a destructive pendulum and your job is to withdraw. How do you withdraw? Not with drama, not with grand announcements. Pendulums love drama because drama is energy. You withdraw by becoming uninteresting to the pendulum. You reduce your resonance. You stop reacting emotionally. You stop defending, attacking, justifying. You quietly, calmly remove your energy from the system. This might look like setting boundaries at work. Not staying late, not responding to emails at midnight, not making the company's emergency your emergency. This might look like unfollowing accounts that leave you feeling inadequate or angry. Stepping back from group chats that drain you. Declining invitations that feel like obligations, not opportunities. This might look like having honest conversations. I love you, but I can't be the person you need me to be in this dynamic. I need to change our relationship. It's not easy. The pendulum will resist. It will use guilt. It will use fear. It will weaponize other people's disappointment against you. But here's what I need you to understand. That resistance is proof you're doing the right thing. The pendulum only fights when it's losing its grip. Let me tell you what happens when you start withdrawing from destructive pendulums and investing in constructive ones. First, you get your energy back. Not all at once, but gradually, you'll notice you're less exhausted, less depleted. You'll have energy for things you actually care about, for creativity, for exploration, for joy. Second, you remember who you are. The masks start coming off. The performances stop feeling necessary. You start making choices based on your actual desires, not the pendulum's programming. And the people who love the real you will celebrate this. The people who love the performance will fall away. And that's okay. Third, and this is the big one, your life starts aligning with your actual path. Opportunities appear that actually fit you. Relationships deepen with people who resonate with your true frequency. Work stops feeling like prison and starts feeling like expression. This is what Transurfing calls living on your lifeline, your personal trajectory. The path where you're not fighting against reality, but flowing with the variant that's meant for you. But here's what you need to know. This doesn't mean life becomes easy. It means life becomes yours. You'll still face challenges. You'll still have struggles, but they'll be your challenges, your struggles. Not the pendulum's agenda masquerading as your life. And there's a profound difference between suffering for something that diminishes you and struggling for something that's actually yours to do. You are not a victim. You never were. You're a being with infinite potential, living in a quantum field of possibility. And every moment, every single moment, you have the power to choose which pendulums receive your energy and which ones you starve. That's not selfishness, that's sovereignty. That's taking responsibility for your own life force. That's what it means to wake up from the script someone else wrote for you and start living the one only you can write. So let me bring this home. Pendulums exist. They're real. They're operating right now in your workplace, your relationships, your social circles, your digital feeds. They're information energy structures that feed on human life force. And they're very, very good at making you believe you're choosing when you're actually being chosen. But here's the profound shift. Knowing this, really understanding this, means you're no longer unconscious. You're no longer a passive participant in someone else's game. You can look at any area of your life and ask, is this mine? Is this serving my actual path? Or is this a pendulum I've been feeding out of habit, guilt, fear, or conditioning? And once you ask that question honestly, everything changes. Some of you watching this are having that moment right now. You're seeing your job differently. your relationships differently, your obligations differently. There's a shift happening inside you, a recognition, a quiet voice saying, this is true, this is what I've been feeling but couldn't name. If that's you, I want you to do something. Don't let this moment pass. Don't let the pendulums recapture you with tomorrow's urgencies and obligations and distractions. Drop one word in the comments. Just one word that captures what you're feeling right now. Your energy, your recognition, your truth. That's how we build a different kind of resonance here. One based on conscious choice, on sovereignty, on people waking up to their own power and supporting each other and staying awake. Now, this is video 4 in the reality Transurfing series, and what we've covered today is just the foundation. Because here's what I haven't told you yet: pendulums don't just feed on you, they fight each other, viciously. And you, my friend, you're caught in the crossfire of wars you don't even know you're fighting. Video 5 is coming. And in it, I'm going to show you something that will shatter how you see every conflict in your life, every argument, every us versus them you've ever felt pulled into. Because pendulums don't just want your energy, they want to destroy each other. And they're using you as their weapon, so pay attention this week. Watch where your energy goes. Notice which interactions leave you depleted and which ones leave you alive. Because the first step to freedom is seeing the prison in you, my friend, you're starting to see. I'll see you in video 5.